I have never in my long-legged life, as an aficionado fantasy sicko myself, I have never mentioned this guy on the show in any positive light. Here are the top 5 stashes you need to pay attention to for the trade deadline. So we talked about him a little bit. It's somebody that I'm super high on. Like, I love this guy. When he gets, even when he gets like 20, 25 minutes, he's still super productive. And of course, we're talking about from the Atlanta Hawks, Onyeka Okongwu. Onyeka Okongwu has been in this conversation for the last couple of years. We've been like, yo, when they move Clint, man, he gonna get the keys to the car. We all know that if this brother gets the run that we want him to get, like he gets 30 minutes a game, 35 minutes a game, he is going to be, and mark my words, at least a top 50 players, a top 50 player, right? In 9-cat, points leagues, whatever. Roto, Hobo, Logo, Lock-in, Game Pick, whatever. DFS, whatever. He's going to be cooking with hot grease if given the opportunity. On the season, he's averaging 25 minutes per game right now. But over the last 7 days, we've seen an uptick in his minutes. He's averaging 27.3 minutes per game in the last 7 days, also averaging 14.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and check this out, 1.5 blocks per game. And on ESPN, he's only rostered in 44.5% of leagues. Like, again, get ahead of it. Grab yourself some Onyeka Okongwu. The next player that we want to talk about is not as strong of a stash pre-trade deadline as Okongwu, but somebody that you still want to pay attention to. He is a Brooklyn Nets player, and a bunch of talk has been about Spencer Dinwiddie getting moved and, the backcourt changing. And if the backcourt changes, there's one guy that could really reap the benefits of that type of a shift. We're talking about Dennis Smith Jr. We've seen this season, when he gets a little bit of run, he puts on for the city. He's only averaging 19 minutes per game this season, which is not enough for him to be a legit fantasy option. However, I think that if there's a trade, that could change very, very rapidly. So again, there's no telling what's going to happen, but if he moves into a starting position, or if he can just increase his minutes from 19 minutes a game up to 25, 26, a little under 30, or even over 30, Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be a legit fantasy option. If you want to get ahead of the game, go ahead and grab him now before the trade deadline. Next up, we got another guy who, if a trade happens, he could benefit from it. So not necessarily him getting moved, because he just was moved in another trade. And the funny thing is, I talked about this guy a couple of shows ago, and I said this: I have never in my long-legged life, as an aficionado fantasy sicko myself, I have never mentioned this guy on the show in any positive light. And he got a mention a couple of weeks ago, and we are back again. Like, this is a sign, right? I'm talking about your friend and mine. Well, maybe your friend. He's not really mine. he's not my guy. But I got to talk about him. I got to do my due diligence. We're talking about Marvin Bagley III. Yes, I said it. Marvin Bagley III. In the last 7 days, Marvin Bagley III is averaging 19 minutes a game, 12.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and that's kind of where it ends. He's only rostered in 9% of ESPN leagues, so he's widely available, right? Now, here's the thing. If someone like, let's say, Dan Gafford, who is crushing it, right? He is cooking with hot grease this season, right? Like, Dan Gafford is no joke for all formats. He has been super valuable. Yes, we've had some issues with health, right? So he's like been out of the mix for some games. He's missed he gets nicked up, and maybe he's doing like his best, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard impression. I don't know. But in all seriousness, if Dan Gafford is moved, that will open up a clear path and runway to production for Marvin Bagley III. We've seen it. When he first got traded to Washington, he was in the mix like, hey, you're the only center we have, go start. And he put up numbers. You know what I'm saying? And like, he will be a double-double machine if he can get over 30 minutes a game. It's not going to be pretty. It's not sexy. It's not something that I'm super hyped about for the future. But just in the short term, thinking about preparing for your fantasy championship, I think he's someone you want to keep an eye on. Next up, we're going to take a look at the rest of our must-stash squad. The next guy is somebody that is absolutely crushing it right now. He is doing it even before the trade deadline. But if the trade deadline shakes up things on his team, he will provide even more value. I'm talking about Idou Udoh. When I tell you, Zach LaVine out, just tons of opportunity for this guy. And he's been going off. In the last 7 days, he's averaging 37.5 minutes per game. Let that sink in, right? We talk about it all the time on the channel. If guys get minutes, that equals fantasy production, right? He's averaging 16.5 points per game in the last 7 days, 3.8 rebounds, 4 assists, and check this out. This is where it gets really funky fresh. 1.3 steals per game. I got more. 1.3 blocks per game. So he's getting the minutes. He's putting up the points. He's okay with rebounding and assists. But the defensive stats, oh, baby. That's what we're looking for. He's doing his best Bruce Bowen impression. I would grab him if he's available. If you are in an advanced league or an expert level league, chances are he's not there. I would even be trying to trade for him right now, because if DeMar DeRozan is moved, that changes everything. In the short term, with Zach LaVine out, they don't have no real incentive to bring Zach LaVine back fast. So there's going to be value anyway. But if DeMar DeRozan is moved, this is going to be a game changer for Idou. Next up, we're going to talk about a young man that I've been high on. Like, I'm talking like Cheech and Chong high, Method Man and Redman high, Grateful Dead high on this guy. Like, I think he has tons of potential. There's a lot of holes in his game, but he's a young guy, so there's still a lot of room for growth. I'm talking about from the Washington Wizards, Bala Kulali, the Frenchman, your man Wemby's running mate, right? Listen, the same situation where if there are trades, like if Jordan Poole is moved out of town, what? If they move Jordan Poole, this is going to be a huge opportunity for Bilal. So for me, I just want to get ahead of it. Now, if it doesn't happen, any of these guys, you can send them right back to the waiver wire. But for right now, heading into the trade deadline, we got to get on our Miss Cleo. We got to pull out like the crystal ball and just look ahead to see what's going to happen. And that's what this is. So Bilal, I think he doesn't have much standalone value for me in a 12-team league right now, but he has some ups and downs. The good news is that he's getting minutes without the trade. So over the last 7 days, 31 minutes per game, 12.3 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.3 steals, and come here for this one, 1.3 blocks per game. I'm just saying.